I'm John Grotto, one of the consultants from McPherson and Jacobson. This is my colleague, Marty Handler. We're pleased to be part of this process to select a new superintendent for the Manchester School District. And we are going to do a number of forums, starting first with the students, in which we ask you 4 questions that will help us to inform candidates about the position. The first question is, what makes your community a good place to live? What makes Manchester School District a good school district for students and staff? What are the issues that the new superintendent should be aware of as he or she comes to the district? And what skills, qualities, or characteristics will the new superintendent need in order to be successful here? We're going to ask those same questions of all the 10 community groups that we meet with so that we can adequately, accurately inform the candidates about all of those points. What makes this a good community for someone to live in? What makes this a good school district for someone to work in? What are the issues that the superintendent will face? And the last one being, what skills or characteristics do you identify that that person should have? And we will take the results of that survey and give it to the Board of School Committee, who will put it on their webpage. And then any candidate looking at this position will have a pretty good understanding about the attributes of this community and the conditions of the school district. I was the superintendent of schools for 23 years prior to retiring and then becoming a professor at Virginia Tech. I'm currently a professor at Virginia Tech, teaching educational leadership courses to prospective principals and superintendents. So that's the experience that I bring. My colleague Marty has even more experience.
Yeah, I've got him beat on the superintendent experience. I'm in my 32nd year as a school superintendent, as a principal before that, teacher before that, and I've actually done a number of different searches in New York State, and I'm very pleased to be here in Manchester helping the school committee come up with candidates for the superintendency. And to let you know where in the process we are, right now as we speak, the brochure is being printed, which we're going to send out nationwide and looking for candidates. And when those applications start rolling in, we're going to use some of the input that you folks and the other groups are giving us today to try to identify the best fits for this particular job. So that's where we're at and what we're doing. Okay?
Also, for the benefit of the Board of School Committee members and the TV, this survey will also be given to the school district to post on their website starting on Wednesday. It'll go from Wednesday, March 20th to Wednesday, April 3rd, 2 weeks. And that survey asking these same questions will be available in English, Spanish, Swahili, Arabic, and Nepalese. So they'll be able to get the opinions of people who are not able to make it to these forums.
So your friends who are not able to be here should get online, do the survey, and be part of the process, okay?
So the way it's going to work is Marty will moderate it, and I will record your comments. And then throughout these 10 community sessions that we're having, we'll have a very good compilation of comments from everyone, and we'll put them on the webpage too, again, so that the candidates can see all the answers to these questions and know this district pretty well.
So again, we're talking to prospective candidates, and the first question is, what makes Manchester a great place to live? And anybody who would like to start, please, let's kick it off. Here we go.
I actually live in Buxton, so,
Okay.
but I am a grandmother who lives in Manchester, so I live downtown. I think what makes Manchester a nice place to live in is, well, one, it's a big city. You can always explore and find new things. You can get realize they're there. I think that's probably the best thing about Manchester, other than the fact that it's got some really nice restaurants around the city and some nice corner stores here where you can get stuff you usually wouldn't find.
Okay, fair enough. You're not the first person.
What was that last thing you said?
I said that Manchester has some nice small stores and businesses where you can get stuff that you normally wouldn't find
Okay,
at
find
stores.
out.
All right, thank you.
I think Manchester always has room to expand, and we're always looking for opportunities to expand with anything, and we're always trying to just make everything just better with businesses or opportunities like college and work, jobs, or just schooling in general.
Okay. New industries
Yes.
coming in? Okay, good.
Creating.
I like the diversity in Manchester. There's a lot of different neighborhoods. Each whole neighborhood is very close knit. We have good locations, not far from the mountains, not far from the ocean. There's a lot of things we can take advantage of.
Ashley, talk a little louder, please.
Being a smaller city, we have some advantages bigger cities don't have, like we're able to be more controlled.
Okay, so what I was hearing, diversity
Yep.
is an important thing. Close-knit neighborhoods, I think I heard that too. And location, near a lot of different things, mountains, ocean, and like that. Fair enough? Okay. By the way, you folks in the back, don't hesitate to add to the conversation. All right, so on the table is what makes this really a great city to live in? Anybody like to add?
I think the students have given a lot of good information, and I would add to that our proximity to Boston, and that we're an hour away from Boston, and I believe that there are lots of extracurricular activities available to students in our school systems, and I think our school systems are a strength.
Okay, school systems of strength, and what I was hearing, again, was location. And I think you're probably about 60 miles from Boston. Does that sound right? And obviously one of the main metropolitan areas on the East Coast. Anything to add?
We have a community that is starting to get online in the school system.
Okay, that's a very good point. A community that is beginning to get behind the school system. And certainly, in a city like this, you want a partnership between the city and the school system. That's very important. And we've heard that before, too. Okay? The second question that I have is, what makes this school district, now we're moving away from the city and the community a little bit, and this is probably something that you can speak to. What makes Manchester a good school district for students and staff? So we'll start over here.
I think we have a lot of passionate staff in our schools that really care about educating students.
So passionate staff that really care about educating the students. Anything to add to that? And again, we've heard that one before too.
Can't speak for the staff.
Okay?
I think we have a lot of educated staff, especially for CTEs or just like language classes. A lot of them speak that language, or they've been in, say, business or healthcare, and they can take that experience and teach the kids what they already know.
So the tech ed, the technical education, is definitely, you think, an asset?
Yes.
And this is, I'm putting words in your mouth, but tell me if I'm off base. A lot of the teachers have worked in the industries that they're teaching about, correct?
Yes.
And you see that as an asset.
Yes.
So you mentioned world languages. What world languages are taught here in the Manchester City Schools?
Spanish, French, I think that's all that are taught at my
German
school.
and Italian and Latin.
Okay, Spanish, French, German, and Latin.
Oh, and sign language, yeah.
And ASL?
Yes.
Nice, nice. Anything to add to that?
No.
Okay. Would you care to comment?
On the subject guideline of world language, kind of, the diversity of Manchester School District. Manchester lets a lot of different people scenes that, sometimes in, say, a place like Pingleton or places like that. The Manchester School District entirely, because I visited all 3 schools during the day. There's a lot of just different races, different skin colors, and you get to learn a lot from them. I'm friends with a lot of people who were born in places like Nigeria or China. It's actually really nice.
So it's not only ethnic diversity, what I'm hearing you say it's cultural diversity.
Exactly.
Okay, that's good. How about back here, anything to add? What makes this a great place?
I think we have opportunities for students in terms of music, art, athletics, robotics, and certainly the academic. We have the top levels of mathematics, the top levels of physics and biology. So the students can prepare for the most competitive colleges and universities. We also have students who are applying into the military and enlisting. And we have a great special education department in our school district to include students with disabilities.
Okay, did you get all that, John?
No.
Okay, talking about all the different strong subject areas, not only the academics, but music, art, physical education, athletics, extracurriculars. What did I miss? All designed to either prepare students for higher education or military service or the work environment.
Yes.
How'd I do?
Perfect.
Okay, good. I need positive reinforcement from time to time. What do you think?
It's just when students leave the Manchester School District, they leave with the skills necessary for success at all points.
Marty, do you have that, this mic right here? Maybe you could take this with you and give it to people back there, because I can't hear them up here.
Sure. So the last comment was, when students graduate from here, that's the camera mic, so we're not going to move.
Okay, never mind.
But let me try repeating. And what was said back here was, when folks graduate from the Manchester City schools, they are well prepared to go in whatever direction they choose. Would that be a fair paraphrase?
Yep.
Okay, good. Would you like to add anything?
I think I said.
Yeah, we chatted for about 45 minutes earlier today.
Okay, let's go to the next one.
So, we're going to be talking to prospective candidates for this superintendent's job. And there is no place that's perfect. Every place has its challenges, things that have to be overcome. So here in Manchester, in the school district, what are some of those issues that a new superintendent, when we're talking to these candidates, need to be made aware of? Go ahead. Nice and loud so John can hear.
Our schools are not as well funded as surrounding towns. There's a lot of poverty. Some kids only eat at school, and they go home to troubled households.
So we've got really economic and social issues among the students in the community. And the other thing that I heard was funding of the school itself is not as good as it could be, not as good as some other places. Is that a fair
Yes.
paraphrase? Good. Anything you want to add?
I think, kind of bridging off of that, that some kids, students aren't educated on, what to do if they're in troubled households. and they're not educated on what paths to go on, and then they end up going on the wrong path, and then it just ends very badly. So the education for them to understand what's going on and to understand where to get help isn't there.
Okay.
Did you say about career paths?
No, not so much career, but what I was hearing was kids with social issues really are not aware of where they can get help.
Yeah.
Would that be a fair paraphrase?
Yes.
Okay. And so more education on that issue would be certainly a challenge for the new person
Yes.
coming in. Okay, fair enough.
To continue off both of those for the education side, I don't think that we are being educated properly, period, for certain things. One of those being economics. For basically the economics at West High School, according to the class description, was that it's supposed to teach you how to handle your money properly. That being said, currently we're working on building a new business in the stock market stuff. Granted, I find that useful, but I don't think I'll find it useful for the career path I want to go on. So I think and then for example, I understand why math is needed. I understand that perfectly. But for things like, what was it? For things like optional classes, like crime and justice, which I'm also taking, I see why that's an optional class. But for getting back to the economics thing, I don't see how the stock market or building a business is gonna help me out in life when I want to go to the military.
So I'm paraphrasing.
Right, please do.
But what I hear is practical economics 101 would be something that you'd like to see taught.
Yes, because
Checkbook,
yes.
credit cards, and like that.
Exactly, and going off of the poverty thing, what the last superintendent did, in my opinion, for this notice is that because, as the students here know, there have been a couple of days that got questionable for 2 hours related to this notice. I see why that is, because some students only eat at school, so they won't get put anywhere else. Now, that being said, there are also times where it's extremely dangerous for students to be walking on that, because there are a lot of kids that walk to school. It would be really dangerous for the students to walk to school, because they could slip on ice, hurt themselves, slip on ice and do something else, or they could get massive amounts of frostbite because they don't have the adequate clothing. So that's a double-edged sword right there. So I think I can't think of what it's going to say.
Well, I gotta share with you. If you ask 100 superintendents in the room from any state, well, maybe not any state, certainly the ones north of where there's snow, what's the most difficult decision that you have? And 98 out of 100 will tell you the snow day, snow delay decision.
Right.
Because it's something you don't control.
Plus you have to make it 5 o'clock in the morning, and at 9 o'clock in the morning, everyone is an expert weatherman.
Many times I've closed school, by the way, for me it's 4:30. At 4:30 in the morning, and then by 9, the sun's out, the snow's melted, or ice or whatever, and you look a little foolish, but thank you for that.
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. And so, I always felt that in superintendent school, they should have at least 3 credits of meteorology, just so that you become expert. So in the back here, who can add to that? We're talking about challenges, because no place is perfect. Go ahead.
A number of contracts are not currently signed.
Okay, so we're going to have some labor things to deal with. Now, I think I was told there are 6 contracts in the school district. And can you tell me how many are over offhand?
All 6.
Okay, so that's also
Student all 6.
soon.
Yeah.
So that's a challenge, and been there and done that, and it's, again, sometimes a no-win situation. Anything to add?
I would put that to major one and budget season.
Okay, the budget and budget development and getting the funding to fund the budget.
So on this note, I'm new here this year, so I'm not sure if my facts are straight, but I have had it repeated by a number of people, so I think it's true, that when you're in this limbo and we don't have a contract, right, not only do you not get a raise for however long that goes on, and not only is it not retroactive when you do get one, I'm being told you don't get credit for the years that you sat in limbo. So that when you finally do have a contract, let's say it goes 3 years, I do not go on the salary grid where I should, because I don't get credit for the 3 years that I worked here without a contract. Is that true?
I can't answer that question because I'm not familiar with what the laws are in New Hampshire, but we will say, for the sake of the
So if that's
the
true,
chart, that there are numerous issues connected with unsettled contracts.
well, that particular issue, I think should be looked at because you're going to churn new people at the bottom forever. You're never going to be able to keep anybody for any length of time because as people that are new learn that you are never going to get credit for these years, why would they stay?
So we're going to identify as a challenge potential teacher turnover. Okay?
I think that is a part of it.
Okay, good. Yes,
I'm sorry to go back to my response on the finance thing, but there's an optional class where you learn to cook food. That should be more of a required class. So somebody like me, I'm not cooking. So I think something like that would help, like help the parents out more at home, or maybe like help out if, or help out along the line somewhere down the road for like if they work in a business. That way they earn a little more credit to their parents or business owner, or they just add it to the family.
so we're looking at practical skills.
Yes, practical skills in general.
More curriculum and practical skills.
Okay?
Okay? So I think yes.
On that note too, I think that we should have more practical courses or electives, like in the sciences and engineering and that sort of thing, that we need to be able to allow our teachers to be creative and to come up with elective courses that maybe only a semester or something like that, especially with some of the things that we're seeing that students may be able to get credit for doing things outside of school. That seems a little strange to me, especially if teachers aren't allowed to be creative with the courses they teach as well. Why do we have to limit ourselves to just, like science, physics, chemistry, biology? Where's the electives? Can we have more of those?
Did you get that, John?
Tell me if I have more, tell me if I have it right.
And also more elective courses in the core academics.
Do I have your thoughts correctly?
More, I
Well, it needs to be electives, not increase the number of core courses, but to offer.
think, yeah, more electives in the core academics.
Yes.
Got it. Okay?
He went that way this year.
Yeah, you got the practical thing that this young man came up with, but that's a little different than what was said back here. And by the way, we're going to have an hour or better part of one with the teachers, so don't go away. Let me move on to characteristics. So now, skills, quality, characteristics. What do you want in a new superintendent? Because we're going to be looking at these resumes, we're going to be looking at these vitas and coming up with hopefully some good matches. So we'll go here first.
I think for a new superintendent, they should be able, I think they should have some sort of school experience already. Like say teacher or principal, so they at least have some sort of knowledge of what they're going to be doing. I also think they should at least be able to come to the schools from time to time. I don't know if this falls under anything, but this is just my opinion. But that the superintendent should be able to come to every school from time to time, see how things are running, and talk to one of the students and see if anything needs improvements, and report back to the principal or something.
Two issues. First of all, I'm hearing school experience as a teacher, building administrator, before getting to central office. That's what I'm hearing here. And then the other thing that I'm hearing is willing to go out and about the various schools.
Yeah, got it.
Now, you have 20-plus schools here.
Oh yeah, there's
22. So that's going to be
Challenge.
a challenge. Not impossible, but a challenge. Ladies,
I think that the new superintendent should not only be able to communicate well with all like the teachers and principals and the school board, but communicate with the students as well. Maybe not one-on-one, but just in general, just communicating with the students and hearing their opinion from time to time.
good communicator, including with students, and why not one-on-one, one-to-one? No reason why not. Thoughts?
Building off that, I think it'd be nice to have meetings sort of like this where all the schools can come and talk to the superintendent about what they want to. I believe the superintendent should have experience being a superintendent in a city before with similar problems to our own.
Okay, so for those of you who didn't hear, again, good communicator, but also what was said was she'd like to see somebody with experience in a similar school to Manchester, similar school district, urban, diverse. How am I doing? Okay? All right, good point. Anything from the back? Qualities. This is your chance.
Ability to be here for an extended period of time.
Heard that one before. Willingness, anyway, to stay with the district for an extended period of time. Okay?
Do you want our opinion, or do you want us to wait until?
No, what the heck, you're here. Go ahead.
One would be not just to stay with the district, but to stay with a professional development plan, because I think there's too much walking back and forth. Whatever is the newest PhD thesis, we tend to change rather than making a commitment to a 10-year plan of staying the course so the teachers can develop something and then actually use it before we move on to something new.
Let me try to phrase that. Long-term consistency in both an instructional program and professional development. Yeah? Okay. I said that.
So I don't really know how to phrase this right. I guess benevolent authority. So like, I would like to see a superintendent, not to get too specific, say to everybody that goes to school here and their parents, having your cell phone in the classroom is not good for you, and therefore we are going to make a decision as an institution that you're not going to do that. And so if it could come from the top, that the kids don't have their cell phones out in an academic classroom, the studies that I've seen done show that you bridge the gap between the people at the bottom and the rest of the kids very quickly if you don't have cell phones, because they're constantly, their attention is diverted continuously, and they don't understand what's going on around them. So if we just had somebody say, we have a rule in Manchester, you're not allowed to have your cell phone in your classroom, that would be a big help to a lot of our kids.
I got it.
You got it?
Take a look on the board as I type these, make sure I captured your thoughts correctly.
Okay? Before we kind of draw this to a close, as far as characteristics and abilities, background, or whatever for the new superintendent, anything that should be in. Did we capture this?
Did you get the first two questions from that, Dan? You weren't in there.
I'd like to see somebody with experience in something other than academia as well. I'd like to see somebody that went into education like as a second career or something, has experience other than in a school setting.
Prior business experience.
Prior something experience. It
Okay.
doesn't necessarily need to be business as far as I'm concerned, but.
We got it.
Gotcha.
All right, folks. Anything else you want to tell us? And you guys, by the way, are welcome to stay. And you may want to stay for the first two questions.